But just getting into it, you guys, talk to us a bit about how you guys, the idea of Madayen congealed. Talk to us about the process of writing it, Hakeem, and producing it, Sultan, for us. Some of the background of the project, please.
Okay, so like the movie says a million and one times over, growing up in Saudi Arabia, you always hear stories about Madayen Saleh. Everywhere in school, you always hear them. And as Saudis, I would safely say that over 65% of us have never been there. And I always thought this is a prime location for something like this to be written. And I just got to writing it. I came up with this crazy little idea, and I found a guy crazy enough to actually believe in me. So I go to Sultan and I tell him, horror movie in Saudi Arabia, Madayen Saleh, what do you think? And I'll pass it on to him to say what he thought about all this. So.
Well, when he first came up to me with this idea, I mean, I've known Hakeem for a long time. I trusted his work ability and his effort and his artistic integrity. But of course, the first thing that came to mind was a lot of apprehension in terms of the content, as you guys saw. Like this, from Saudi Arabia, this might be considered a bit risky for some people, and then the issue of filming it, getting the permits and everything, and the issue of producing it. Right now in Saudi Arabia, we have the General Authority for Entertainment that's set up recently, and it's set up to support a lot of artistic endeavors by young people. So it's a good time to get into film. But when we started this, that wasn't there. So we kind of went out on a limb. But you know what? This guy's never failed me in the past, and he came to me with this idea, and I said, heck, let's go with it. So here we are. So glad just over a year later. Yes. So thank you, everyone. Like I really appreciate you guys turning out. This was amazing.
And thank you, Saudis, represent. Without your support for this project and the Arab Film Festival, for real, because we are, at the end of the day, we are a small film. We are an indie film, and the fact that the crew at the Arab Film Festival believed in us and put us center stage, and the fact that you all came out and sold this theater out to see us, it is infinitely humbling, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for making this happen. You have arguably been at the forefront of indie Saudi cinema, and we thank you for it.
Especially among the two other shorts we've seen today, two of them really good shorts. Wethaqi was magnificent, and Yellow, really good insight into small little things in Saudi life, and we can't be more honored to be here as part of this Saudi showcase. So
shout out to Muhammad Salman and Ali Kalthami. How great were those movies? They couldn't be here, but next time. You got us this time. Next time you get them. And yes, Qurashi and Khalid are alive. We got that question so many times from the festival we submitted at. Are they okay?
They survived.
It depends on how. If they aren't, will you let us into your festival? Because I'll say they're not. But no, they're all right. Yeah. No, they're all right, kind of.
Talk to us, guys, about being there on the location in Madayen. With all of the folklore and all of the spookiness. Did you guys ever get kind of spooked out yourselves being there? During the shoot? Yeah.
I'll let Sultan take the reins on this one. I will say, though, that this all happened very, very fast, and we were on an incredibly tight schedule. So all the scenes from the start of the road trip up until the end of our time at Madayen was a day and a half of shooting. So we were on all the time. Yeah. So I was inside my head because I was seeing my baby happening before my eyes. So Sultan was an absurd trooper throughout all this. I'm sure he put up with a lot of stuff from me. And I'll let him take the reins.
As producers typically do.
I'll let him take the reins on this one.
Well, an interesting tidbit, that day and a half, they were the day and a half right before the start of Ramadan. So we had a long journey to get there, obviously, and then when we got there, it was, Ramadan this year fell in the dead of summer, so it was ridiculously hot. And me and Hakeem were fine with the ghost stuff. We were okay, but the rest of the group, actually, like some people who were kind of talking it down, it got under their skin after a while. Like we were just filming in the middle of the dark, no lights whatsoever. And during the last scene, that scene when Hakeem was running through the desert with the rocks and everything, That we were filming that at the last bit of our shoot at like 2:30 a.m. On the next day was Ramadan, and to put it into perspective, that's like Christmas Eve here. Like there's nothing going, everybody's home, and as I'm waiting with Khalid, waiting for them to shoot in the car. They were coming up in the scene. The last thing I wanted to hear was the car tire getting stuck in the sand. Now, and we had no one. You know, when Khalid was saying we have no signal, that was actually the case. We had no signal, and we got stuck there 2:30 a.m. on Ramadan day.
Completely silent.
Yeah, and that was the road between the camp and the main road that took you to Al-Ala, and that was like a 15-minute trip. So we got stuck there. We all kind of looked at each other like, okay, we might die.
We had totally accepted it because the film was done.
Yeah,
like, we had finished shooting. We finished shooting. So
yeah, but it was quite the walk. Everybody was a little existential at the time, and it was a long journey. We decided not to stay in the camp because some of the crew members were a little like they would not have another night. They would not sleep there another night.
Alas.
Yeah, so we just walked to the street, hitchhiked. You know, me and Hakeem were like, we're gonna go with a hitchhike. No, obviously nobody's gonna stop. Like nobody. So
because they don't go like people. Like they've heard the
stories. You know, we were living the story. So, and then this kind old truck stopped by, and me and Hakeem looked at each other like, yeah, we might die, but let's go.
We had not discounted the possibility that we would be murdered, but we were okay.
We got in the truck. We were dead tired at the time, but lo and behold, there were like a couple of villagers in the truck, and they were the sweetest people ever. And they just took us to the next mosque. We literally crashed there, slept until the fire department came and helped us take out the car. It was long. It was like 9 a.m. until we left. So.
Shout out to Madayen.
Yeah, shout out. Exactly. Honestly, they helped.
Earlier you were talking about apprehensions and stuff, and just going back a bit, Madayen screened in Hong Kong, it screened in Barcelona, around United States, in LA, and was it also Milwaukee? Ohio, but hasn't seen a lot of screening around the Arab world. Talk to us a bit about this.
Well, much like Sultan initially said, this script was passed around to film houses initially, but a lot of them, because of the content of it, not to say it's particularly taboo, but it's definitely not like anything they've seen before. And for us to touch up on a UNESCO heritage site that's very close culturally and religiously to the region, everyone was met with a bit of apprehension when it came to pushing it out there for fear of their own skin, and rightfully so. Yeah. We went very rogue. That's why we decided to go indie, and we believed in this product so strongly, and we believed that it was loyal to the subject matter that we grew up with, and everyone in the Arab world will learn something from this. Even in Saudi Arabia, they'll relate to it on one way, because this is just a story of 3 Saudi guys going up to do this. Though, after we got picked up internationally in Hong Kong, Barcelona, Ohio, that's when we started to gain traction in the Arab world, and that's when they started asking about us. Like, okay, that's when they watched it, and maybe this is not as bad as everyone like makes it out to be when they first look at the script. But the Saudi government was super supportive of us. Like they greenlit us all the way through. Yeah,
which was surprising, but
we were definitely surprised.
We took it in, and
we were definitely
very
surprised.
Thankful for that. Shout out, you know.
But, no, definitely. I believe that this is the kind of creativity, this is the kind of push that the Saudi Arabian film market needs. And now with the General Entertainment Authority, they don't have to go through everything we went through when it comes to making a movie, because you can get everything you need from one place as opposed to from several places like we did. So now, hopefully you'll see an influx of content from Saudi Arabia, real content, like not necessarily controlled content, indie content that will hopefully blow you away.
See, I was apprehensive for sure, but aside from it being Hakeem, who I trust to work with, I just saw the gap in the market. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, we have all these new up-and-coming talented people doing different things, but not a lot of people doing, something like a little weird, like a horror movie, or just something that is gonna take you through a ride. It's not necessarily something that's gonna comment on anything specific. It's just, an artistic endeavor, and make of it what you will, kind of thing.
We both definitely saw eye to eye on the fact that we wanted a Saudi film that was not about Saudi Arabia. We wanted a Saudi film that was just an original story that had nothing to do with anything. It was just a story that happened to take place in Saudi Arabia, and that's where we saw eye to eye, and that's why we pushed through with this project so strongly in spite of all the resistance we initially received.
It's so great, you know, I just love the melding of comedy. It's like we're set up laughing in the beginning, and then when the horror comes, it just like snatches you by surprise, you know, and it's just this crazy emotional shift on top of the found footage horror aesthetic, you know, it's so good. You guys were running a bit late on time, but Hakeem and Sultan will be here. Please come out in the lobby and chat with them if you have any questions. But again, please join me, you guys, again, in thanking these two wonderful filmmakers for being with us today.
Thank you.
Allah Thank you.